Yo, Ryan Hartley here from Always Better Than Yesterday. Welcome to Life Lessons from Disney Soul. And welcome to the Always Better Than Yesterday community. If this is your first time here, as I say, I'm Ryan Hartley, the founder of Always Better Than Yesterday. And we exist simply to help people lead with love and leave a legacy. We grow every single day in our hearts and our minds. If you are not already part of the Facebook We Are Always Better Than Yesterday community, come join us. Let's grow together. Let's leave a legacy together. And just to let you know, if you are watching this on YouTube, if you're listening to this on the podcast, the recording won't be perfect. I am currently live within our Facebook community. I will be engaging with the comments and the questions that inevitably are going to come through. So bear with. Hope you still are able to enjoy the conversation. Please do ask your questions as we go. If there's anything you'd like to ask, anything you'd like to message, anything you'd like to share in your own reflections, I love to hear that. I love sharing life lessons from Disney. Today's all about Soul. The film was released over the Christmas period in 2020, and it tells the story of Joe, the middle school band teacher. His life hasn't quite gone to plan. He's quite unfulfilled, shall we say. His real passion in life is jazz music. He's really good. He is really, really good. And he gets this one opportunity. He gets this one opportunity to play with this band. And the movie follows him and following to another realm. And he has to have the help of someone else. Has to help someone find their passion. And he soon discovers what it means to have real soul. So please do share this. Feel free to share this with someone in your network that loves to learn, grow in their hearts and their minds, particularly around Disney, because that's what we're going to do. Hit the subscribe button, push the bell on YouTube if you're here, to be notified of any future content. I really hope that anything that I put out helps you in your heart and in your mind in some way. That's all that this seeks to do, is to help you in some way. If it's not adding you value, not a good use of your time, then do not feel like you need to be there. But here we go. This is what we're all here for. Life lessons from Disney Soul. Lesson number 1 is in the zone. The movie depicts this kind of meditative state. It's often described as being in the zone, and it's where our souls go. It's that flow, the space between physical and spiritual. It shows the state that I think that people reach when they're doing what they love. It almost slows down time. Things seem and feel timeless, like they're connected to something bigger than themselves, guided by a higher power. Side note, I shall be interviewing Clyde Brolin, who wrote the book In the Zone, who's interviewed hundreds of elite athletes about what it means to be in the zone. So be sure to come back and check that interview session with Clyde Brolin in the future. But that's what I think this film focuses on. And in that state, the film is focusing on people finding their spark, or in my language, doing what you love, being the method with which we transcend the physical and the spiritual and go to that place. So after years and years of misery, Joe finally feels like he's living his spark. He gets this one opportunity, tries out for this band. He absolutely goes for it on the piano, and he transcends this physical space into the zone. He feels like he's living his spark. He's excited. It's almost like he's been brought to life. It's almost like he can see in color for the first time. And then he falls down a manhole cover. Bless him. He's just gotten to a point where he's loving what he's doing. He's feel like he's made it. He falls down a manhole cover, and off he goes, journeying to the afterlife. And the absolute, I had to sit up and watch closely as the visual image of Joe journeying to the afterlife. I knew exactly what it was, because it was exactly what David Ditchfield described it looking like in his own near-death experience. I was just like, wow. Like, so if you haven't listened to the interview session with David Ditchfield, hearing about his story of journeying to the afterlife after falling under a train, like, go and hear how he describes it, and you'll see exactly the way that Soul depicts the afterlife. Incredible. Anyway, Joe's there, he's journeying to the afterlife in this big elevator, and he is stressed. He is not content. He is resisting death. There is no peace. And as he says in his own words, I'm not dying the day I got my shot. And I think that's it. I think, one of the regrets of the dying, if you just simply Google the top 10 regrets of the dying, 2 of them are relevant to how Joe felt in that moment. He hadn't pursued his dreams, and he hadn't left the job that he hated sooner, and that's it. The regret of the dying, he wasn't ready. He wasn't ready to go anywhere because he hadn't lived. He hadn't lived. He had lived, but he hadn't lived. So that's it. In the zone. Lesson number 2 for me is the importance of self-discovery. So Joe leaves the afterlife. He's fought his way out of the afterlife, but instead of going back to Earth, he finds himself in this zone called pre-life. And it's just like the image kind of depicted here is that our souls are designed uniquely before birth. And our souls then come to Earth pre-programmed, full of personality, things that we like, things that we don't like, our character traits, our strengths, our weaknesses, the things that bring us joy and light us up. And we all have this. We all have this. And I've been thinking about the word calling, and a lot of people use the word I'm called to do, as if to say there are 2 groups of people, the called and the uncalled. And I just don't believe that's the case. I think we all have a calling. And I think this bit in pre-life really brings it to life for us, because what makes the difference around calling is those that listen and those that don't, those that see, those that pursue, because that's the importance of self-discovery. When your soul comes to Earth, it's already pre-programmed with these things that it loves, doesn't love, enjoys. And it's how we respond to the signals when those things happen. The things that bring us joy, the things that excite us, that make our tummies go funny, the things that turn us off, turn us on, they're not random. And if we learn to tune into them, we learn that they're ours. Not everybody reacts to the same things that we do. Bethan Laker, she's on watching at the moment. She's an adrenaline junkie. She loves going over 100 miles an hour on a motorbike in a safe environment on a racing track. Not everybody feels that way. So is it random that she feels that way? No, I don't think so. I think Bethan has got clear on adrenaline-based activities, that fear-based stuff is something that her soul comes alive with. We all have that, but we don't all have the predisposition to go and seek out fear and adrenaline and motorbikes. Sometimes it might be creation. Sometimes it might be parenting. Sometimes it might be a type of food, a language, a culture. The difference between those that find it and those that don't are those that listen. The subtlety of that is everywhere. Being still enough to connect with how we think and feel about certain things, and realizing they're not random at all, and to lean into them, to do more of them, because that gives us clues and it reveals who we are. It reveals, who we were made to be and the unique gifts that we've been given. If only more people took the time to look within, to see what's already there, the clues that already exist. Because unfortunately, for too many of us, they look outside of us. And that leads me to kind of lesson number 3, which 22 is a character in the pre-life. And she says this very tongue-in-cheek sentence that you can't crush a soul. That's what Earth is for. And that's kind of it, isn't it? You can't crush a soul in the pre-life, but that's what Earth's for. And I think there's so much in the way that we live that is just damaging for the soul. It is so much in messaging and marketing that we're bombarded with that is at its best when it leaves us feeling inadequate. It leaves us feeling like we're lacking things. Everything that we live with is an attack on the soul. Joe and 22 end up heading to Earth, right? In a bizarre set of events, 22 ends up in Joe's body. Joe's soul ends up in the cat. It's hilarious. If you've not seen it, go watch it. But it's the first time that 22 has ever been in her senses. See, here's the thing. Souls are disconnected from our bodies. And our bodies are what has senses, vision, touch, taste, hearing. And much of the way that we live life is like an attack on the senses and therefore on the soul. She first steps out into daylight and is blinded by the light. It's a busy New York street, the noise of the traffic, the hustle and bustle of people, the roadworks that are going on. That overload of the senses was an attack on the soul. And I think that's a reminder that the environments that we live in, the noise, the pollution, the messaging, is a great metaphor what's happening for millions and millions and millions of people every single day. You can't crush a soul in the pre-life, but everything that we're surrounded by is slowly and subtly crushing our souls. Oh, that's deep, isn't it? Arlie, are you going to pick this up or what? It's a deep film. It's a great film. It's so funny. But there's some real importance here. There's some really important things that we can take away to ease the burden on our souls. There's no surprise that a lot of us are struggling in our hearts, our minds, our souls, wherever that might be. And I just hope that this inspires you in some way to think more about it and prioritize the health of it a little bit more. Lesson number 4 that I've taken away is you never asked. So 22, she's in Joe's body. There's this hilarious scene where Joe is trying to give himself a haircut, but bear in mind, Joe's the cat. And the cat tries to just trim his hair. And it's hilarious. And anyway, so 22 goes off to get a haircut to sort out the mess that's been made. And obviously 22 is curious. She's learning more about Earth. She didn't really want to be there, but now she's there. She's alive in her senses and she's curious about the people that she's surrounded with. She's curious about all the other things that she sees and hears and experiences. And she asks a bunch of questions of the barber. She learns so much about him, his experiences, his hopes, his fears, his dreams. And as Joe's body leaves the barber's, he turns around to the barber and he's like, do you know, like, we've never talked about your life before. How come we've never talked about your life before? And then the barber just says, you never asked. But on this occasion, I'm glad you did. I just think how much of that is a great lesson. Like, if we just ask the questions, if we just had the presence of mind and the curiosity of soul to just ask the people in our presence our curious questions, how much might we learn about them? How much might we learn about the hopes and dreams of other people? And just enjoy that moment. Food for thought, my friends. Number 5, HALT. You might have heard me talk about HALT before, HALT. And having never experienced senses, 22, she starts to show symptoms of hunger. Joe gets her some pizza. She gets some pizza. She's like, oh, it's strange. I don't feel angry anymore. That, my friends, is what it means to halt. If you are hungry, you are angry, you are lonely, you are tired, you are not yourselves. You are not going to be at your best. You're not going to think clearly. You're not going to make good decisions. Hungry, angry, lonely, tired. Do not get some pizza. Number 6, lost souls. I can see that Jess has commented about lost souls, and it is a key point throughout the film. And for me, the bit that I've taken around this lost souls is that in this flow state that people are trying to continually get themselves in, we are given a real chilling description that we're reminded that lost souls are not too different from those that are in the zone. But when that joy from doing that thing becomes an obsession, an unhealthy obsession, we become lost souls when we disconnect from life. When the very things that bring us joy become such an obsession that it saps the joy from it, we can become disconnected from life and we can become lost soul. Joe becomes obsessed with getting back into his body so that he can live his spark, so that he can live and play that show. He tries to control 22. She's out living, trying to experience everything about Earth. She's never been there. She's like a kid on Christmas, just like in the senses. And he's just not helping her experience Earth. He's not helping her find her spark, which was the initial mission. Help her get her spark so that they may return and get that pass. And actually, she gets some anxiety around finding her spark. Oh, it's like, I need to find it. I need to find my spark and my purpose. Joe then verbally attacks 22. You have no purpose. And I'll share more on that in a minute. But this is what focusing on our own needs does. When we become self-obsessed, we become less loving, less compassionate, and we become a more individualistic society. We become islands. Focusing on our own needs prevents us from loving, caring, and connection, which is why we're here, my friends. Spoiler alert, to love and to be loved. Anyway, the irony is Joe somehow makes it back to his body. He plays the show. He gets to the zone. He does incredible. He goes to the zone. And there's this scene after the show. He's stood in the street and he's just like, I've been waiting on this day my entire life. I thought it would feel different after all that. To which he is told the tale of the older and the younger fish. The younger fish says to the older fish, says, hey, I'm looking for the ocean. The older fish says, hey, you're in the ocean. And the younger fish says, what, this? No, this is water. I want the ocean. And I think I had to really let that one sink in. I had to let that one sink in. I just think, what that big fish, like big fish, little fish, cardboard box, what that big fish is saying is that, my friend, you already have what you are seeking. If you just slowed down and looked around, you would realize that you already have what you are searching for. And there we go. Boom. Penny is dropping. Left, right, and center. I can hear it. Big fish, little fish. If only we realized that we had exactly what we are searching for, and it's all around us. Irony. So here we go. Lesson number 7. Just regular living. That evening, Joe realizes that the spark isn't a soul's purpose, and nor does the pre-life predestined purposes. He realizes that 22 was just brought so much joy by experiencing all of the things that he had taken for granted. She kept asking, could this be my thing? Could this be my thing? With such a joy and a vibrancy for life. But it was with such a pressure of, I need to find a thing. And it consumed her. But it really is a life worth living when we realize that it's just regular old living. And this isn't what sells. The reason we're not told this all of the time in the media is because it doesn't sell shit. Hey, by the way, you have everything you need. You do not need my product. It doesn't sell. And the more we wake up to this and realize, the more that we're hopefully susceptible to the messages of marketing, when at its best leaves us feeling inadequate without their products. So the more 22 lived in her senses, the more she noticed and realized what brought her soul joy. Your spark isn't for the external things, my friends. It's for the joy of the soul. It's in the everyday, the senses, the ordinary, it's nature, people experiences, the awe and the wonder, the get-tos, not the have-tos, the regular old living. 22 is just experiencing regular life. She's being without expectation. Food, sights, smells, experiences, the sun. That's why so many of us love sunsets and sunrises, the simplicity, the overwhelming awe and wonder. the conversations, the connections, the helping, the laughing, the places we will go, nature. Come on, my friends. Are you hearing me? Are you hearing me? Are you hearing me? Number 8, I have no purpose. Oh, the burden of those 4 words. Ouch. Now, Joe realizes everything and he goes back to search for 22 in his meditative zone state. She had become a lost soul. She becomes so obsessed with finding her purpose and her spark that she had become a lost soul herself. She'd become haunted by those 4 words that Joe had spoken over her. You have no purpose. She believed it. She didn't trust herself. Who am I to live? No one wants to be in my presence. His words haunted her. If you don't think words matter, my friend, they do. Your words are like the construction industry. They can either build you up or tear you down. Use them wisely. Use them wisely. Ooh. How can you be disconnected from life by searching for your purpose? Well, my friends, it's to feel like it's a burden. But lesson number 9, we are given a second chance. Joe helps 22 reconnect to herself. He reminds her what lights her up. He assures her that purpose isn't what it's all about. It really is just regular old living. He reminded her. And I think that while we don't get the answer in the film, I think the thing that completed her was that she had a passion for life. She had a passion for living. She had a passion for being in the moment. And in doing so, Joe gets given a second chance at life. And when asked what he'll do with it, he says, I don't know. I don't know. But what I do know is I'm going to live every minute of it. And it takes courage to live. It takes courage to connect with our hearts, our minds, our bodies, and our souls. The courage to be still. The courage to listen. The courage to look. The courage to try. The courage to get back up. The courage to love. The courage to lose. And the courage to live. You know this, my friends. You know this. In essence, I think what the film is trying to say, come live. Come live, to seek joy in the everyday, to enjoy the highs and the lows of life, to be grateful for the sparks in our lives, but not to be defined or distracted by them, to take the pressure off of finding our purpose. Take the pressure off. I've often said you don't need to find your why. Jose Mourinho says pressure. There is no pressure in football. There's pressure in life when, people in Africa have to feed their children. The same is true of purpose. There's no pressure. There's no requirement to find your purpose. Instead, be invited to live, discover and appreciate life in all of its beauty. And that's what gives it meaning, not the highlight reel. So you've been given the invitation. How will you live? Come and join our community if you're not with us already. I might have shared 9 life lessons, but unlike a cat, we don't get 9 lives. But like Joe, we do get 2. Number 1 is the day that we are born. And number 2 is the day we choose to live. I hope you accept this invitation. I hope that you feel like you've enjoyed spending time in our company. I hope that you share this with someone who might need to hear this in their heart and their mind and their soul. I hope you keep loving. I hope you keep leading. And I hope you keep living. I've been Ryan Hartley from Always Better Than Yesterday. Come search us out on Instagram, Facebook, podcasts, wherever you might be. And I hope that we help you in some way. Always love.